Science time, N.S.T, and we're looking at the changes in state. Now, before we get onto that, we need to know the states of matter. Can't work out changes of state if we don't know what states are. And basically, all that it is liquid, solid, and gas. Okay? And we need to know a little bit of information about these three states. It's not good enough just to know what a liquid, a solid, and gas is, or that those are interesting words. We need to know what they are like and the characteristics. So, if we're talking about a solid, then, and as you can see in the picture, I've got ice there, and you can see the little molecules inside of the ice are very closely packed together. So in a solid, the particles are packed closely together. They have little space to move, so they can only vibrate. They just stand in one place and they vibrate. That movement is very small and it's very fast. Solids can't be compressed. They have to keep their shape. Okay, so if you think of wood, that's something that's hard. I can't crush wood with my hands and change its shape. I can with big machinery, but not with my hands. It's got lots of little molecules packed together, and because they're nicely packed together, it doesn't change its shape. Okay, then if I liquid, now you'll see the little molecules in the liquid are further apart. In a liquid, the particles are loosely packed. Most of the particles touch with gaps in between some particles, and the particles move more than in a solid. A liquid flows, it doesn't have a fixed shape, instead it takes the shape of the container it's in. If I have some cool drink in an Oros bottle and I pour it into a glass, it will take the shape of a glass. If I pour it into a square dish, it will take the shape of the square dish. It doesn't have its own shape. I can't pour it on the floor and expect it to stay in a square shape. It will take the shape of whatever it's in. Okay, this is because the molecules and the particles are a little bit further apart. It has space to move. Then we look at a gas, and you can see in the little picture the particles are moving quite far apart from one another. In a gas, the particles are far apart, much further than in a liquid. There are big spaces in between the particles, which means they can't only move around freely, but they can be compressed. A gas has no fixed shape or size. Instead, it will spread out to fill up the container it's in. Most gases cannot be seen, but you might be able to smell them. Okay, so if we think of a helium balloon, okay, when it's contained inside the balloon, it's one shape. But if I were to open up that balloon and the helium was to escape, now that's a gas, it would go all over the room. We wouldn't be able to see it. Okay, it's not an example of something we could smell either, but it would be all in the room. And we can't say, okay, well, let me quickly go and collect the helium again and put it back into the balloon. It's gone. All right, and it mixes with all the other gases in the air. Now, something that you might be able to smell, if you had somebody in your class who farted in the corner, okay, now that's a gas. Even if you're on the other side of the room, eventually that gas would travel through the room and you would smell a very funny smell. Okay, so it's not something you can see. It floats around, it moves very freely. You can compress it, you can push it together and compress it. Okay, and sometimes you can smell it, but you definitely can't see it. Okay, now if we're looking at states of water, we need to know that the solid, the liquid, and the gas have got special names. So water in its solid state is called ice. When it's in its liquid state, we know it as water. And when it's in its gaseous state, or its gas state, it's called water vapor. Now remember, water vapor is sometimes called steam, but it's actually the thing that you can't see. Okay, when it's steam, it's actually changing back into a liquid already. Right, now, the main part of this little study section. We need to know about water changing from one state to the other. So on my screen, I've got ice, that's a solid. I've got water, which is the liquid, and I've got gas, which is water vapor. Okay, now you'll notice that some of my words are in red and some are in blue. Remember, red means I've added heat to be able to get those things to happen, and blue means it's gotten cooler. Okay, so let's have a look. From a solid to a liquid, it's called melting. Now we know this. Think of ice. When it becomes water, it melts to become water. When a liquid goes to a gas, it evaporates. So that's known as evaporation. And we need heat for both of these processes. So ice, we heat it up and it becomes water. Okay, it melts to form the liquid. We heat it up some more and it evaporates to become a gas. Think of the water cycle and the sun causing the liquid to evaporate into gas. When we want to go the other way, this is reversible. When we want to go the other way, we have gas. We need to cool it down and it condenses. So condensation happens, and that's when the gas becomes the liquid. And when we want to go from liquid to a solid, when we want water to become ice, we need to put it in the freezer because we need to freeze it and we need to cool it down even more. So from solid to liquid to gas, we go solid melts to be a liquid, liquid evaporates to be a gas. Going backwards now, gas condenses to become a solid, and gas condenses to be a liquid, and liquid freezes to become a solid. And that's a little bit like a cycle as well. You can make it go one way or you could reverse it. It's reversible to go the other way. What could your teacher ask you? Well, she could say to you, draw the changes of states of water. Then you'd have to draw that little picture that I showed you earlier on. She might give you that drawing and leave out the labels and ask you to label it. Okay. She might say to you, this is a bit like the definitions of the words we've done already in matter and material. She might say to you, explain what evaporation is. Okay, and then you need to know that it's when a liquid is heated to become a gas. Okay, chances are for this section, she'll probably give you a picture or ask you to draw a picture. Good luck.